Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Giselle Correas, Public Health Planner. Excited to welcome everyone for our second session of the Johnson County Resilience Task Force Spring/Summer Series in 2026. This specific area focuses on food security in Johnson County, with this event being recorded and soon to be posted on our community resource website. So more information to come for that soon. If anyone has questions, please drop them off in the Q&A below. Able to give those off to our subject matter experts at the end of the presentation. We're thrilled to welcome leaders in our community, but first want to kick it off to our Public Health Systems Analyst, Cole Cruzy.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Cole Cruzy, Public Health Systems Analyst here at Johnson County Public Health. And so I'm going to be starting off kind of food security topic by going over our just released 2025 community status assessment. So this was an assessment that we did the end of last year, where we collected over 700 responses from residents in Johnson County. And so I'm just going to be going over the data that we collected pertaining to food security. But we also collected things on healthcare access, finance, and a bunch of other metrics. So to check it out, do a little plug, we'll go to healthyjoko.com, which is our main landing page. You can read the PDF here, but we'll go to the dashboard up over here to look at the data. This dashboard is like an interactive interface to go through the results of the data that we collected. So it'll load here, but I'll just put it in full screen. It's easier. And yeah, so this is the dashboard that we did, but a bunch of different topics focused on food security for this. And yeah, I'll just jump into it. So this is all the questions and results that pertain to food access, food accessibility, and everything. So these first two questions are talking about labeling respondents as food insecure or not. So those who said yes to skipping or reducing meals due to costs in the past 12 months, 15.4%, or respondents said yes that they do that. And then we followed up on those that did say yes, that did skip to reduce meals. So 29.3% said that happens every month, and 26.3% said almost every month. So it's over half of those who skip or reduce meals is a very common occurrence. So happening every month for most individuals. We also asked if they did or did not, they did not eat for a whole day due to costs in the past 12 months. 5.2% said yes to that. And then again, we followed up on how often that occurs. So about 2/3 of respondents that said yes say that happens every or almost every month. Going down, we also asked about nutrition. So we asked if they ever get a food from a food pantry or meal site within the past 12 months. Of all the respondents, 14.9% said yes to that question. And so with the survey being online, we're able to show questions based on people's responses. So we looked at those who did not or who were food insecure and did not utilize food pantries or meal sites. We asked them their reason why they did not choose that option or utilize those community resources. So the top answers for this question, there were 73 responses total that fit into that category. Top 50% said that they think others need it more than I do, which is very alarming because these are the people that are labeled as food insecure. So the fact that they are and aren't using these free resources is something to make note of. Second option being that they're not sure they're eligible or they feel too embarrassed to use the pantry. So the top 3 reasons for people who are food insecure and aren't using these community resources is like doubt and uncertainty. So not really more physical or physical barriers and things like that. But fourth option is the hours or schedule of the food pantry don't fit their needs. They don't know of a pantry or meal site near them, or they just don't have enough time, and many other responses and reasons as to why. But main reasons just being those kind of mental barriers of being unsure if they qualify, or they think others that, or they think they aren't the actual target audience for those resources. Next, we asked about SNAP utilization. This is important because during the survey timeframe, was during the government shutdown when SNAP was shut off for some people. So to kind of keep that in mind when looking at this, but we asked, are you or have you received SNAP benefits? So 46.6% said no, they are not eligible to receive SNAP. 42.3% said no, I have not applied for SNAP. 5.5% said yes, they have in the past received SNAP benefits, but are no longer receiving them currently. And then 4.7% said yes, that they are currently enrolled in SNAP and are receiving the benefits. And so we can see that with the state average in November 2025 was about 77.2% of Iowans were enrolled in SNAP versus our 4.7% of respondents. Then we asked those who are enrolled in SNAP how they applied. 51.5%, over half, said they just use an online application. 42.6% said they go in person. 11%, about 12% said they use a phone, and then 10% said they get help from a community organization to apply for SNAP. We also asked how well SNAP meets their needs. So about 3/4 of respondents who use SNAP say they SNAP meets their needs either completely or somewhat completely. But yeah, 33% completely, 43% somewhat meets their needs, and then around 21% said that SNAP did not meet all their needs. Then we have over here the kind of like open responses of people who use SNAP and kind of the circumstances, outcomes, challenges that they face, and some of the positive feedback from receiving SNAP benefits. But highly recommend to check this dashboard out in the community assessment. But yeah, this is the quick snapshot for food security, Johnson County. So.
Today we also have John Buller, Coralville Community Food Pantry Executive Director, and Ryan Post, North Liberty Community Pantry Executive Director, to share more insight on this topic.
Yeah, thanks, Giselle. And thanks, Cole, for sharing all that important information. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Johnson County Food Access Network and how that got started and kind of where we're at today. So in early 2025, there were some threats to some federal sources of support for food assistance, both SNAP and WIC, but also programs, USDA programs like TFAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program. And in response to try to develop some contingency plans and ensure our neighbors had access to food, multiple organizations got together to organize and strategize around how do we ensure our neighbors don't go without. So early 2025, we had 21 organizations come to the table and have a place at the table. This included meal sites, it included food pantries, and it included our food rescue organization in Johnson County. And working together, we identified a few things that we had in common that we wanted to work toward. So the purpose of the Food Access Network is to bring together community groups who share the common goal of increasing access to food in Johnson County and collaborate in pursuit of shared interests. And our shared principles are committing to fairly distributing food to both individuals and organizations, committing to treating each other and all people who utilize our services with dignity and respect. And very telling with the responses that people might be feeling embarrassed as a reason that they don't come to the food pantry for assistance. That's important value that runs across all of our organizations, that we want to treat people with dignity and respect and know that it's a strength for them to come and ask for help from us, because that's why we're here. We're committed to working together in cooperation, and we're committed to inviting new voices into the conversation, and especially viewing differing opinions as valuable and necessary to achieving our goals. But I would also add in those with lived experience of food insecurity being an important voice in our work. So the crux of where we evolved and tried to strategize around, as I mentioned, was to promote increased access to food among neighbors. So some of the explorations that we undertook were evaluating the sources of food that our meal sites and pantries were using today. So one of the biggest sources of support is from an organization, Table to Table, that does food rescue work in Johnson County. And so they are going around to partners in Johnson County, including grocery stores and some restaurants, to pick up food that is still safe to eat, but that is no longer to be sold for one reason or another. They also work with logistics companies on rejected shipments and overages that, again, still safe quality food that then they redistribute to all of these partners, meal sites and pantries. That amounts for the North Liberty Community Pantry about 50% of the food distributed. So it's a significant source of support for us. Another support that we receive food from is a USDA program called the Emergency Food Assistance Program, or TFAP. And that is a commodities program that the US government buys excess food from the market to allow farmers and producers to still generate income, but then turn around and distribute that at no cost to regional food banks and then down to pantry sources. So for the North Liberty Community Pantry, that accounts for about 20%, 18 to 20% of the food that we distribute. And that is an important component that is income-based for eligibility, but 98% of the people that our pantry serves are eligible for that program. And then the last source is wholesale purchasing. So some of our organizations are large enough and have enough community support to be able to have budgets to purchase food to fill the gap between those important sources. And for the North Liberty Community Pantry, that's around 20% of the food that we distribute is purchased. But this was an area that the Food Access Network partners strove to work together so that we could collaborate and have bigger buying power if more organizations were working together on that. And so we've had some good success on bringing new dollars to the community in order to feed our neighbors. So I'm going to let my colleague John Buller talk a little bit more about the Food Access Network and some next steps.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan. I'm going to take a moment to zoom in and kind of help folks understand what services are available through the Food Access Network and others who are providing really critical services in Johnson County. As was noted earlier on the call, rates of food insecurity do continue to climb, and reported visits to pantries, meal sites continue to increase as well. And that trend is validated at state level, national level as well. Simultaneously, we're seeing eligibility for programs like SNAP have been drastically tightened due to unprecedented policy changes at the federal level. These have been especially detrimental for our neighbors who are immigrants and refugees, many of whom are no longer eligible for those safety net programs. And over the last 12 months in Johnson County alone, we've seen over 1,200 of our neighbors now disenrolled from SNAP. And more of those folks are having to exclusively rely on the private safety net, the Food Access Network, to get their household food needs met. So where can people turn for help? I'm not going to talk about SNAP and WIC because I know there's another call centered around those. But my favorite tool for directing people to a local organization or service opportunity is the Johnson County Social Services Resource Directory, and they have a really great page on just food assistance programs. So depending on what you or the family you're working with is looking for, the county is home to organizations that offer vast food assistance services ranging from hot meals to community refrigerators to monthly food markets or even full-blown food pantries like in North Liberty or Iowa City, Coralville. But let's start with meal sites. I'm just going to highlight a few, and I think these are just really valuable and important to know. We have some really strong meal sites. We have some congregate dining sites for seniors. There's only one site currently in the county, and it's located in Lone Tree. There was one at the Iowa City Senior Center, but I believe that closed recently. I'm not positive. Maybe Ryan would know if the North Liberty 55 Plus Connections is still happening. Feel free to chime in. Yes or no, do you think? I'm not sure. I'd hate to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Yes, good. That's fantastic. And happy to report that we are in conversation with Heritage Area Aging Agency to potentially bring a congregate site to Coralville, which would be really wonderful. But there are summer meal sites, which are up and running right now. If you're interested in figuring out if there's one near you, you can go, USDA has a site finder. I can share that link out later, but you can just kind of Google USDA sponsored summer meal sites, and there's a finder tool where you can plug in your zip code and it'll show you the nearest summer meal sites. And I will note, just a disclaimer, this doesn't, their list does not include private sites. It's just USDA reimbursed sites, many of which in our area are sponsored through the Iowa City Community School District, but there are a number of private summer meal sites that are not reflected on that list. But I would like folks to know that, places such as St. Andrew Presbyterian, they do a summer lunch bunch at the Pheasant Ridge Neighborhood Center. There's a North Liberty Luncheon Fun. Our Coralville Community Food Pantry, we were operating USDA summer meal site, but we've made it a private site now. So private really just means we're sourcing food from various local businesses or donors or even in-kind support versus following the little bit more restricted meal plans that the USDA approves and then reimburse. But there are a number of really helpful summer meal sites in Johnson County for kiddos K through 12. So be sure to check those out, happening all summer long. There's hot meal dining for all ages. There's the Agape Cafe, which is a free breakfast service on Wednesdays. The free lunch program operates Monday through Saturday, noon to 1 p.m. Salvation Army of Johnson County, I believe, still offers Monday through Friday dinners. And then a little bit different, but there's Meals on Wheels operated by Horizons, which offers home delivered meals for qualifying homebound individuals. Next, moving on to food pantries. We have so many incredible food pantries. Really, no matter where you live in Johnson County, there should be a food pantry that exists to serve your grocery and home food assistance needs. So there are mobile pantries, home delivery pantries, home delivery options, and in-pantry food assistance as well. The mobile pantries that are notable, the Community Food Bank has multiple Johnson County mobile sites, including a few different mobile home parks, Regency Mobile Home Park, Western Hills. They go to Ecumenical Towers, Lake Ridge Estates Mobile Home Park. They have a calendar and schedule posted on their website that you can find. Haycap Food Reservoir offers mobile pantry services in some of the surrounding outlying areas in Washington, Iowa County, even Cedar, Jones, etc. Home deliveries for folks who can't physically access a food pantry. There are options for them as well too. Community Food Bank, North Liberty Community Pantry, and Coralville Community Food Pantry, we all offer weekly grocery deliveries to anyone living within the county. And the services look pretty similar, differ a little bit, but you can generally call or place an order through those organizations to get those food needs met that way. For in-pantry food assistance, back to those I mentioned again, Community, North Liberty, and Coralville, they're all choice pantries, meaning there's not prepackaged food. You can actually come in and shop like a free grocery store. Quite similar, again, in our service models at each location. We have our own service areas when it comes to folks who are eligible for our services, and that can be discovered through perusing our websites. But generally, all three of us cover the entire county when it comes to county residents that are in need of in-pantry food assistance services. There are also some really great neighborhood and other county pantries and pop-up distributions. St. Andrew Presbyterian offers a pop-up food market one time a month. There's no geographic requirements, no income requirements either. And I will mention at the pantries I mentioned, there's no income requirements that have to be met. As Ryan mentioned earlier, there is a TFAP form that needs to be completed to access certain types of food that we do receive, but that would be the only area where you'd have to show any type of identifying certain type of income or falling within a certain percentage of the federal poverty level threshold. Some other neighborhood and other county pantries. So there's a Solon Community Food Pantry, St. Raphael Food Pantry, Successful Living Food Pantry, Clear Creek Amana Community Food Pantry, Lone Tree Hills, etc. These all can be found on that resource directory, and several of these groups are part of formally the Food Access Network. There's other groups that have emphasis on supporting Again, especially vulnerable communities such as our immigrant and refugee neighbors, Open Heartland, I See Compassion, Catholic Worker House. They're doing some really great work to ensure that the food needs are met, and they provide really helpful connections with those households. There are a handful of community refrigerators for folks, again, harkening back to what Ryan had mentioned, there are folks who might not feel comfortable coming to a food pantry asking for help, and there's some really good access points to just get some extra food to tide them over. The Coralville Public Library houses community refrigerator. There's another Iowa City community fridge at the Wright House of Fashion, and I think I've heard about a few others, but kind of hard to find a little more information there. But those are great, and those can be supported in different ways. For university students on campus, University of Iowa, there's a food pantry. Same with Kirkwood Community College. So for those students at those schools, there's additional access points for food assistance. But yeah, back to what I was mentioning, I don't believe there's any type of income verification for the majority of the entities that I mentioned, means testing, etc. There are some geographic restrictions that often, if it's your first time coming, you might need to verify your address with a piece of mail. Yeah, basic household data is generally collected and recorded at most pantries, but de-identified before sharing out with funding partners like the county, HACAP, or local municipalities. And most commonly, these organizations just track and report total number of visits families and individuals served to measure our impact there. So that's all I have for now. Thanks so much.
Thank you both so much. This is really great information to share out. If any folks that are viewing have questions, please feel free to drop those in the Q&A now, and we can kind of direct those to our speakers. While maybe some folks are writing stuff up, if individuals in the community are interested in getting involved in this work or looking for areas of support, how could someone, who could they connect to, and how could they get more involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as John mentioned, most of our organizations, our partner organizations for the Food Access Network, have websites, and there are contact information there, also on the Johnson County Social Service Resource Directory. Just reaching out to offer for volunteering, and each organization has a volunteer process where they're onboarding and training volunteers. But every organization that is one of our partners has a need for volunteers, and it's no different from meal site to food pantry to food rescue, that we could not do the work we do without volunteer support. And just to echo what John shared earlier, that unfortunately we're seeing the need around food insecurity rising, not only in Johnson County, but across the state of Iowa and even across the country. And it's a combination of economic factors and a loss of public assistance support that are driving that need up and shifting it to food pantries and meal sites. So now is the time to support local pantries and meal sites and food rescue organizations that are serving all of our neighbors. And working together, we're finding a lot of success with bringing more groups to the table, and we need help to keep doing that.
Thank you all for the wonderful work you're doing in the community and supporting our neighbors.